I'm gonna let you guys know right now, this is probably gonna be way longer than what it needs to be. What's up, guys? This is Courtney, one half of Brothers Deconstruction here, and I'm bringing you my super late review, retrospective review for Spider-Man. This movie came out in 2002, I believe, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, the guy from 127 Hours. I'm kidding, James Franco. So Spider-Man was the first major comic book movie that kind of helped start the modern day era for comic book films. Blade started it, and X-Men kind of helped usher it in as well, but Spider-Man really kind of cemented it as, oh, okay, this is what comic book movies can be. You know, after watching this, it's been so long since I've watched this film, you forget how charming Spider-Man is. And this is very much a Sam Raimi film. If you know anything about Sam Raimi's previous films, he's the director, creator of the Evil Dead series. He has a very particular style, and watching this film during the fight scenes, he's known for a very slapstick type of style, and it comes out in some of the fight scenes between Spidey and Green Goblin. It has kind of a, I don't want to say a shaky cam type of feel, but there's like a shakiness on the impact of the blows being thrown. And you can definitely see the parallel between the way that some of the fights are shot in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. Overall, I mean, this movie came out in 2002. The effects don't really hold up. Plain and simple, it's a 17-year-old film. Even though the effects don't hold up, they still kind of help add more. They still kind of have that charm to them. Because, you know, this was before, obviously, modern day VFX. And before, you know, a lot of the modern day stunts that we're used to seeing in film as well. But a lot of the stuff holds up. The effects are one of the things that don't hold up, though. That's the only thing. The effects are one of the things that don't hold up. The performances are actually, again, going back and watching this for the first time in years, performances are good. William Dafoe chews scenery as Norman Osborn / Green Goblin, as he should. Green Goblin is a very over-the-top character. You have a guy that dresses up like a fucking goblin and throws pumpkin bombs at people. If he's taking this a little too seriously, that would have just thrown the entire performance off. And William Dafoe coming in and chewing scenery really added an element to the film, to the role. Especially the fact that he plays both sides of Osborn. He plays the businessman who's really devoted at trying to get this military contract. And he plays kind of the overbearing father to Harry, to James Franco's Harry Osborn. You know, Harry looks up to his dad, and he always feels like he's disappointed in his dad, and his father has such high standards. Defoe portrays that really, really well, especially as he looks. He's so proud of Peter. You can tell that he's really proud of Peter being a scientist and being so into science and everything like that. But then that duality of Norman going insane after taking the performance enhancer and, feeling those side effects of insanity and rage and anger and everything like that, highly aggressive. He plays that part up as well. He goes over the top, which again, I think he should. If you're supposed to play this character that inhales this formula that you guys have created, and one of the side effects is higher aggression and insanity, yeah, I'm gonna expect this person to kind of go over the top, right? So William Dafoe did a wonderful job of bringing that craziness to Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin. Say what you want about the suit and how it looks like it's from the Power Rangers, but it worked. You know, after seeing what they would have gone with and the animatronic goblin mask, that probably would have worked out a little bit better, but that also could have come with a whole lot more complications as far as being difficult to shoot in or shoot with and everything like that. But I still think that the performance is what mattered most. Moving on to some of the other characters, James Franco does a good job as Harry Osborn. This is really laying the foundation for Harry and Peter's relationship. So James doesn't get a whole lot to do, but with what he's done, he's the typical friend, right? He goes and he ends up getting with Mary Jane. And at one point it's hilarious because when he's trying to explain it to Peter, because he knew that Peter had a crush on Mary Jane since they were like 6. And he says, "You never made a move." And Peter's like, "You're right, I didn't." And he's right. On one hand, you can understand why he's apologizing because Peter is his best friend, like his brother. But on the other hand, you didn't make a move. And Peter challenged him to go talk to her. Because Harry said, "Hey, are you going to talk to her yet?" He was like, "No. Why don't you go talk to her?" Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of funny looking back and seeing kind of that start and them ended up being together. Other than that, James Franco doesn't have a whole lot to do with the film, but his role does get fleshed out more in the sequels. Kirsten Dunst is okay as Mary Jane Watson. She's not great, but she's not bad either. This first movie, I think she's pretty good in. I think the later films are when she starts getting a little more of the annoying side, but I'll get to those when I actually watch them and I do my reviews for them. But in this film, she's pretty solid. Tobey Maguire, there's a reason why up until now people say that Tobey Maguire is like was the best Spider-Man, right? He does a really good job in this role in this first movie. With that being said, I get some of the complaints with Tobey, and a lot of them has to do with delivery. I think a lot of them are based around delivery. Tobey makes jokes. Tobey's Peter Parker makes jokes in this film. His delivery on some of them are kind of flat, so I get why people didn't think that Tobey's Peter didn't crack jokes as Spider-Man should, but he does. He just delivers the line a little bit weird. That's all. It's really about delivery. But there are other times when, you know, as Peter, he cracks jokes and they hit really, really well. So it's kind of weird, but you know, I understand why Tobey was looked at as the best Spider-Man. And you know, this is just the first film. But I think as I go and watch Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, I think I'm going to be shown again why I thought that Tobey was the best Spider-Man until we got Tom Holland. And there's still even an argument to be made for Tobey versus Tom. We're not even considering Andrew Garfield at all. But overall, the film is really, really well done. It's 2 hours. You get a very clear setup in the beginning, and you get a very clear, like, Peter Parker's life. He gets bit by the spider, right? And then at a certain point, it becomes Spider-Man. And you get those two very distinct portions of Peter's life. He gets bit by the spider. He discovers his powers. He loses Uncle Ben. And then he decides, I'm going to start saving people and stopping crimes and doing this with this power. And then transitioning into that, he starts trying to juggle. This is early times of him juggling his Spider-Man and personal life. So you get that look in on it as well. I think some of the dialogue is a little clunky. It's a little corny, especially Spidey's line about no, you're out, Gobby, out of your mind, something like that. It was really, really corny. And then Toby's delivery didn't really add anything to it. So some of the and then, you know, with at the end of the movie with Harry telling Peter that, you know, my father was stolen from me and Spider-Man is gonna pay. Franco's delivery on that is kind of weird, but then I think the dialogue could have been a little bit different. So there are points in the film where line delivery and dialogue itself could have been better. But overall, it did a good job. And it gave the actors enough to work with and kind of get the point across and progress the story. The action in the film, I think, is really, really good. Even though the effects don't stand up, the web slinging is still kind of really, really exciting. Even though you can tell it's a computer, you know, animated Spider-Man. I think the web slinging still looks super fun. And I think that overall, the film is just good. I mean, there's a reason why this kind of broke out and caused this massive change in superhero films. And once we move on to Spider-Man 2, obviously, you know, I'll deep dive into that as well. But I just wanted to watch this. Bruce is doing the X-Men films. I'm doing the Spider-Man films. He's going to come together. We're going to come together and do the Fantastic Four films. But yeah, this first Spider-Man film is still really, really entertaining. Again, it has that charm, and even though some of the dialogue is clunky and corny, it still adds to that charm, and just the execution that Sam Raimi pulled off in the particular style, and some of the choices that he made were really, really interesting. Again, one of the funniest things that's been turned into a meme is Green Goblin busted in on Aunt May doing a prayer. It's like, oh my God, that's still one of the funniest things. Now, and when I saw the scene, it's supposed to be terrifying, but I couldn't help but think of the memes that it's been used for. So, yeah, thanks for ruining that, guys. But again, overall, the first Spider-Man film from 2002 is still a really, really entertaining film. It's still really good, and it's a very good foundational movie to start this franchise with. So next one I'm going to try to get to is Spider-Man 2 and then Spider-Man 3. I actually have Spider-Man on DVD, so that's how I watched it, which is, again, why the effects and the CG in some scenes were so annoying, because it's not Blu-ray, but I'm sure it looks worse in Blu-ray, so I guess it's really a toss-up there. But I do not own Spider-Man 2, surprisingly, and Spider-Man 3 is on like Hulu and Amazon Video. I've been meaning to buy the Blu-ray 3-pack of the Spider-Man trilogy. I just never got around to it, so I might do that soon so I can pull up Spider-Man 2 and actually watch it. But I wanted to get this done really, really quickly and get this out there. Check out all of the other videos, guys. Go back and watch the first Spider-Man. I'm warning you, it can be corny in certain places, but a lot of the things in the film are things that are still being done in modern superhero movies today. When it comes to solo films and telling a story and doing that groundwork for things to continue, and loss in the hero's life and changes and how they're going to deal with a secret identity or not. You know, there are still certain aspects of that in superhero films now that are still used, and we have Spider-Man to thank for that. So yeah, go back and watch this film. You'll be surprised at how entertaining it still is. And look out for my other reviews on Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. So check out the other videos. As always, guys, I appreciate any and all support. Holler at you later.